Hello and welcome to Sharing Jewish Wisdom.
Hello and welcome to Sharing Jewish Wisdom. In today's video, we're going to uncover the hidden secrets of the humble Mezuzah, from its history to what's hidden inside. And if you wait around to the end, we've got a surprise for you. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to our resident font of all knowledge, Reb Shlomo Kreiman. And it's nice to see you, Reb Shlomo.
Well, thank you very much. Nice to be back, and hello everybody. I want to tell you, I don't know what this surprise is. So it's going to be as much of a surprise to me as it is to you. So don't be too uncomfortable on the edge of your seat, because you might fall off. So as Mark very kindly said, we're going to talk today about a mezuzah. We're going to talk about it because he and I were chatting on the subject recently, and I said, you know, we did that wonderful Hanukkah workshop, which attracted a lot of interest. Can't imagine why.
There'll be a link in the description for that.
Will there?
Yes.
I say, see, another surprise. You've already had 100% increase on your surprises. I mean, gracious, if you got that on your stock market investments, you would be happy, wouldn't you? And I said, what about doing one on the mezuzah? And very gracefully he agreed. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I have got a practical example. It's called a mezuzah. So let's start with something pretty obvious and ask ourselves, what does the word mezuzah mean? Well, a mezuzah means a doorpost. And of course, that makes sense now because that's where we put them. So what's written in this mezuzah that we've got to put up? Well, it starts in Deuteronomy chapter 6, if you want to go away and check it up. And every mezuzah contains exactly the same piece of writing. It's the first two paragraphs of that very well-known prayer, the Shema. It covers 22 lines of writing that the sofer handwrites in a traditional manner. Now, some of you will say, oh, wait a minute. I've seen mezuzahs which are huge, and I've seen some which are tiny. Well, let me let you into the secret. It's 22 lines of writing, whether it's written big or it's written small. Where the advantage is this. The larger the piece of parchment, the larger the opportunity for the sofer to write the letters, and the less opportunity there is for there to be any errors. Because if you've got a tiny piece of parchment and you're going to write 22 lines of writing on it, it's going to be a bit squashed up and difficult. That's not to say that the small one is no good and unsuitable. That's not what I'm saying at all. But from the point of view of the person writing it, it gives far more ambit to get it right. And there is no point in having the mezuzah up there if it's wrong. Easy, isn't it, so far? Good. So let's move on. So why is it there? Well, we are told in the first paragraph of the Shema that you ksavtom al mezuzah beisecho v'sharecho, you should write them on your doorposts and your gates. It's a connection between the person who puts them up and the Almighty. It's a personal connection. Every time that we walk past the mezuzah, some people have the custom, at least, if not everybody, of just touching it and kissing it. And you're making that more of a connection. So, you've got your mezuzah and you're going to put it up. Now, let's supposing you don't happen to have a handy rabbi who's standing outside your front door, unemployed, waiting for someone to call him in and put up a mezuzah for you. So how do you do it? Well, there is a way of doing it. You roll the mezuzah from the end to the beginning, not the beginning to the end. No, I'll say that again. You roll it from the end to the beginning, okay? Like that. On the back, you will see about a quarter of the way down, there are 3 Hebrew letters, Shin, Daled, Yud. which stands for Shomer Dalsus Yisrael, the one who is the guardian of the doorways of Israel. And so when you roll it, you should finish with that facing out. And that's what goes immediately behind the casing into which you put the parchment, and the casing is going to go on your doorpost. So that when you walk past, you'll find on the outside of the casing either a letter Shin, which stands for Shalom Dosis Yisrael, or you'll find the full Shin Daled Yud, Shomer Dalsis Yisrael, and that's what you touch and kiss. So far, so good. Now, I'm sure you've probably noticed that the mezuzah goes up at an angle. It's not straight that way, which is vertical. It's not straight that way, which is horizontal. It's at an angle pointing up into the room. So I know Mark, I can see it in his face, he's wanting to ask me why it's at an angle. I knew you'd ask me that.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I've got the answer. The answer is that there was a dispute between Rashi, now we've all heard of Rashi, the famous commentator who lived 1040 to 1105, if I remember, and the grandchildren of his generation that we refer to broadly as Rabbeinu Tam. They argued, should it be vertical? Should it be horizontal? And so the sages came to a compromise, and that's why it's at an angle like that. And obviously it's going to point into the room. There's no point in it pointing down at the floor or the carpet or whatever it is. Now, how high do you place the mezuzah? Well, now, here's something for the architects, surveyors, and possibly the accountants, but everybody else as well. Imagine your doorpost from top to bottom. Imagine it in thirds, top third, middle third, bottom third. So the best place to put it is at the bottom of the top third. There's no point in it being 7 foot high because you never reach it. So you want it just around there. Okay, so far? Don't forget your nails and your hammer, by the way. Although there is in fact no requirement to actually nail it, so long as it's affixed in a permanent way, that will be good enough. Now, which rooms do you need to put it on? Well, the exceptions where you don't, that's the easy way to do it, are things like bathrooms and lavatories. So you have it on your front door and all the other internal doors, but some people don't know that if you have proper doorposts and lintels on something like a garage, they need to go on there. Or a side entrance to the property, the one where you take the lawnmower down to deal with the front garden, something like that. You may need it there as well.
Can I ask you a question?
Why don't you?
So if you've got a temporary tabernacle or a sukkah, would you put a mezuzah on during the Yom Tov or
Very
not?
good question. The obligation is to put it up where you're going to be for 30 days or more. So if, for example, we were talking about a sukkah, which is a very temporary structure that's only going to be there for a bit more than a week, no, it doesn't require a mezuzah.
Okay.
Very good question there. So, yeah, if you're in any doubt about where and when and how, you really should contact your local rabbi, or if you live in an area where there's a sofa, that is to say someone who writes these things, then go and ask the sofa. They'll only be too happy to guide you. Otherwise, the exercise becomes a little fruitless. I will tell you a quick story. Can I tell a quick story?
Of course.
Yeah, provided it's quick. I know what you're going to say. So I worked in an office one time that was owned by a Jewish gentleman, And when he knew that I was coming to work for him, he got his bookkeeper to put up a mezuzah on the door. The bookkeeper wasn't Jewish and did his best. The only trouble was that he put it on upside down. There you go, you see. This is where a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Now, when you put it up, you make a bracha. There's always a bracha for something, let me tell you. So what's the blessing that you say for putting up the mezuzah? Well, we all know how they begin. Asher kidishana b'mitzvosov v'tzivanu likboa mezuzah, who sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us concerning, the word likboa means the affixation. Not that you've got a fixation with it, but the affixation of the mezuzah. So it's done with the affixing of it. So what you normally do is, let's say you're doing it with the hammer and nails, you slightly tap in the nails. Just pretend I've got a mezuzah here and a hammer in my hand. It makes it look a bit more realistic. And you just slightly tap them in. Then you say the bracha, and then you finish hammering away. Okay? But please do it at sensible hours so that the neighbours are not disturbed. You won't win friends and influence people that way. Now, mezuzahs need to be checked. Why? Because, as you will see from the close-up that Mark will be putting in, it's written with ink, and sometimes the ink flakes. And if the ink flakes, the letters become less than clear and legible, and the mezuzah becomes what we call posel. It means it's no longer fit for the purpose it's there. So you'll say to me, well, how often do I need to get them checked? The general rule is twice in 7 years. So if you haven't had your mezuzahs looked at for quite some time, and you've been living in your house for 43 years, this is a very good opportunity for you to get hold of someone suitable to take them down, have a look. It doesn't take long to check, because if you think about it, it's 22 lines, and someone who's experienced in looking at these things should be able to whip through it in, I would have thought, about 15 to 20 minutes to tell you if it's okay or not. And if not, then you will need to get some new ones, I'm afraid.
So
yes.
Another question.
Another question?
Is this parchment the same as what they put into fill-in?
Ah, very good. You're ahead of me. I was going to come to that.
Sorry.
No, good question. It's exactly the same. Obviously, it's not, I would say, as thick as you might get in a Sefer Torah, because that's bigger and has to last longer and so on and so forth. But yes, and I was just coming on to say to you that if we look at the writing of the letters, which we're going to do now, it's written in exactly the same form as we do for tefillin and for a Sefer Torah. So now you will see the mezuzah come up in front of you, which is much better to look at than looking at me. And we're just going to have a look at, for an example, the first line of writing, because I find this fascinating. They are all Hebrew letters, we know that. But in the way these are written, the construction of the letters are often made up of other letters. Now we'll take the very first letter, the shin of the word Shema. If you look at it, there are actually 3 letters Vov joined at the bottom. So we all know what a letter Vov looks like. And if you're not sure, if you go to the penultimate letter on that first line, and the penultimate word on the first line, and look at the very first letter, that is a Vov. And you can see that there's 3 of them joined together. Now let's look at the Mem, the second letter in the first word. That is a Chof with a Vov next to it. Then you look at the Ayin, and that is a Vov on its side with a Yud. And let me just point out that that letter Ayin is rather larger than the other letters. And if you go most of the way across that line, you'll find that the last letter of the word Echod, that is to say the Dalet, thank you, quite right, Mark, is also large. And so Mark will be on the point of saying, is there a reason for that? And the answer is Yes, it is.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Well, so long as I don't take your false teeth out, you've got nothing to worry about. The iron and the dalad together make a word, aid, which means a witness. And by putting up the mezuzah, we are bearing witness to our faith. You can go anywhere in the world, in perhaps some of the most unexpected places, and you can walk around and you'll see a house with a mezuzah. And if you see that, you know you can knock on the door and ask for assistance, because it's the home of another Jew who will be happy to help you. So there you are. That is the significance of a mezuzah. So in the last 15 minutes or so, we've learned an enormous amount about these things. So there you are. But it is important to have mezuzahs checked for the reasons I've explained. Otherwise, it becomes nothing more than an artifact on the door, and that isn't its purpose. So happy hunting for your mezuzahs. And I'm not a sofa, by the way, so don't try and contact me to place an order. This is not an advertisement. Please treat it seriously. Lovely to see you all. I'm sure we'll see each other again soon.
Well, that was fascinating.
Thank you very much.
So as Reb Shlomo says, I'm going to put a copy of this on the video, so you'll be able to see this as you follow our presentation. And as I said, a couple of surprises. First of all, we've still got a link. I'm going to put a link in the description of the video for our Hanukkah. Reb Shlomo put a Hanukkah sheet together. We're going to keep that for you. And also a free copy of our book that we've written on Bereshit, which, well, again, I'll leave a link in the description below. What have we got to look forward to when we see each other next week?
Well, before we do that, can I just follow on from what you've been saying? Please do mark like, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. It's nice to know that we're reaching out to you all and that someone is at least alive and well and looking in and paying some attention to us, because we're not paying much attention to each other, I can tell.
And also leave any comments, because we're always happy to reply to any comments, especially about the subject of the mezuzah. We're always here to help. And
especially polite ones.
Indeed.
Right, the next one, when we get together again, will be the very last Sedra in the book of Bereshit, and it's called Vayechi. And that will take us right to the end of the first book of the Torah. And if you're going to say, whew, that went quick, I'm going to tell you, you don't sit here and have to do all the preparation and the hard work. It goes so quick for all of us. But we do hope you'll continue looking in and enjoying our presentations. Thank you for joining us so far, and we very much look forward to seeing you again. If in your comments you have any questions that you want to raise, such as why are we here, then by all means, please do put them in. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye, and have a good Shabbos.
Please click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel for some great content.